The message came on a Tuesday afternoon, plain and sharp, like it had been written in a hurry but meant to cut deep. Don't interfere with us. My wife feels uncomfortable. Please stop. I read it twice, then a third time. My son's name sat at the top of the screen like a stranger's, no mom, no softness, just instructions. A boundary drawn in digital ink. I sat at my kitchen table, the same one where I'd helped him with homework, where he'd once cried after his first breakup, where he'd promised me, hand over heart, that he'd always need me. The soup on the stove boiled over, but I didn't move. I just stared at the phone until the screen dimmed. Uncomfortable. That word echoed louder than the rest. For months I had felt it building. The polite smiles from my daughter-in-law that never reached her eyes. The way conversations stopped when I entered the room. How my advice, once asked for, was suddenly too much. Still, I never imagined my own son would send a message like that. I typed a reply. Deleted it. Typed again. I'm only trying to help.
Delete.
I'm your mother.
Delete.
In the end, I sent nothing. That night, I replayed everything in my head. The rides I gave them when their car broke down. The rent I quietly covered when money was tight. The groceries? I dropped off just in case. Babysitting plans made around their schedule. The emotional support calls at midnight. Had that been interference? The next morning, I made a decision. If my presence made them uncomfortable, I would remove it. I stopped calling. When my son's name popped up a week later, I let it ring. When my daughter-in-law posted vague complaints online about overbearing people, I didn't respond. When they needed help moving apartments, I sent a polite excuse. I stopped helping. No reminders about doctor appointments. No surprise meals. No financial safety net. Silence became my contribution. At first, I thought they'd notice immediately. Surely they'd feel the absence the way I did. But weeks passed. Then months. And something unexpected happened. The ache remained, but so did a strange, fragile peace. Without constant worry for them, my days felt unfamiliar, quieter, too quiet at first. I reorganized my life around the empty spaces they'd left behind. Morning walks replaced rushed phone calls. I took a part-time job at a local library, something I'd always wanted but never had time for. I made friends with people who didn't see me only as useful. Still, every holiday stung. Thanksgiving came and went with a brief text. Hope you're well. No invitation. Christmas was worse. I wrapped gifts anyway. Habits die Hart. I left them in my closet, untouched. Then the cracks started to show. My son called one evening, his voice tense. Hey, do you know any good daycare options? I paused. This was the kind of question I used to answer instantly with research, phone numbers, even visits. I'm not sure, I said carefully. I haven't looked into that. There was silence, confusion. Oh, okay. A week later, another call, this time about money. Rent had gone up. Expenses were piling up. His voice carried frustration, but also something else. Expectation. I listened, then said softly, I hope it works out. That was it. The calls became less frequent but heavier. Each one carried the weight of things I used to carry for them. They were tired, overwhelmed. Arguments crept into their marriage. I heard it in my son's voice, though he never said it directly. One night he snapped, You could at least help a little. The words burned. I took a breath. You asked me not to interfere. I'm respecting that. He hung up. A month later, I heard through relatives that things weren't going well. My daughter-in-law felt unsupported. My son felt trapped between pride and pressure. They fought about responsibilities, about who was supposed to step in when things got hard. No one mentioned my name directly, but I was everywhere in the silence. Then came the knock on my door. It was late. Rain streaked the porch light. When I opened the door, my son stood there alone, soaked, eyes hollow. Can I come in? He asked. I stepped aside. He sat at the same kitchen table, the same one where I'd read the message that changed everything. I didn't realize, he said finally, how much you did. I said nothing. He rubbed his face, exhausted. We're struggling.
And I thought
you'd still be there even if I asked for space. I looked at him. Really looked. I was, I said quietly. Just not the way you wanted. The conversation lasted hours. He told me how his wife felt overshadowed, how she thought my help made her look incapable, how he tried to protect his marriage by drawing a line without realizing he was cutting something else entirely. I didn't mean to push you away forever, he said. Just back. I nodded. And I didn't stop loving you when I stopped helping. That made him cry. The next day, my daughter-in-law came too. She didn't apologize right away. She explained herself instead. Fear, insecurity, the pressure of being compared to a woman who had done it all before. I listened. Then I spoke. I am not your competition, I said, and I am not your backup plan. I can be part of your lives, but only with respect. There was a long pause. Things didn't magically fix themselves after that, but they changed. Help became something discussed, not assumed. Boundaries became mutual, not one-sided. I babysat sometimes, but not every weekend. I gave advice only when asked. And when I said no, it was accepted. Most importantly, my son learned something he'd never been forced to learn before. Love is not the same as access. Months later, he admitted it to me quietly while we washed dishes together. When you stopped helping, I finally understood what it cost you to always say yes. I smiled, small and tired, but real. That message he sent me once still exists somewhere in our history. We don't talk about it anymore. But it taught all of us something we needed to learn. You don't lose your worth when you stop being useful. Sometimes that's when people finally see you.